Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in a Half Shell, Turtle Power. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, particularly the two that, well, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles holds a very special place in my heart. I was born in 1986. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was created in 1984. I have never lived in a world without the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As a small child, I grew up in the gluttony and heyday of the 80s Turtles. If you don't know what I'm talking about some of the best video games ever created. Sorry, Fallout. You're nothing. You got nothing. You got no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles spunk. I'm still out here playing the original arcade game because the modern games just suck. They do. Whatever, Dead Souls or whatever that game. I don't care. I'm gonna go play my old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. I'll go back and play a lot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game because they're brilliant and beautiful. And if you can't get past the damn level, that's on you. Learn smarter. Learn better. All right, that was my little rant. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have always been a huge part of my life. I am not exaggerating when I say in my office is a framed copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. It is signed by Peter Laird. On the inside of the cover, Peter, if you ever hear this, you are a dick, sir. You signed on the inside of the cover, which means my beautiful Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic that is framed, that hangs in my office, I don't get to show off your signature. It is there. It exists. It's nice on these. It is a third printing. If you don't know what I'm talking about as far as TMNT #1, it is the greatest story in all of indie comics, period. Peter Laird, Kevin Eastman, they published Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 as a joke, as a parody. Basically, they came up with #1 due to one of their uncles had a tax return that they borrowed. And it is it's a big parody of everything that was going on in comics at the time. New Mutants was a huge thing, so mutants, and Daredevil was a big thing, so ninjas, and it wears its influences on its sleeves, but ultimately Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is much better than any of its influences. It is one of the greatest comic series ever created, period. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a huge inspiration to me as a cartoonist. That first black and white issue, the early Mirage comics are just brilliant. All that early turtle fantasy stuff, the world building that Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird did early on is incredible. By issue 5, they're in outer space. It's not all ninjas and street gangs. A lot of the adaptations tend to focus on that because it's easier stuff than the turtles in space kind of stuff. But again, I've said this multiple times. Theater of the absurd. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the perfect example of theater of the absurd. It's brilliant. It's incredibly well illustrated. It's a masterclass in economic, storytelling. They didn't have that many pages. They were paying for the book out of a tax return. They did one issue, thought that's all it was going to be, and then retailers and different publishers, different people started calling them, asking for issue 2. Oh, so they thought to themselves, okay, I guess we're doing an issue 2. And like I said, I have a third printing of number 1, because the first printing was that original limited issue run. Second printing was double that. The third printing was double that. There are more third printings and fourth and fifth printings out there than there are first and second printings. But I'm proud of my third printing. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1 signed. Again, Peter Laird, kind of a douchey move to sign the inside cover. Because I can't display it, the signature. My goal is to one day get them both to sign it on the cover. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. Well, we'll see. Anyway, I love my TMNT number 1. I love those early black and white Mirage Turtle books. There's a great documentary called Turtle Power. It is about the 25th anniversary of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That goes well into depth about everything that went on with Mirage Studios and the growth of that company and the insanity that really was the 80s, because they get the toy deal, which comes with their first cartoon in the 80s, which in tone was a lot more kid-friendly, light-hearted, very different from the gritty black and white violent comic that originally was published. But it took on a world of its own. There's the Turtle verse at this point, where you can just say, oh, every version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles exists, whether it's the black and white version, or every couple of years they revamp or redo Turtles. In the early 2000s, my favorite Turtles book ongoing was Tales of the TMNT, a black and white book that it was just like, oh, we're going to tell one-shot stories that, maybe they're in continuity, maybe they're not, but we're just having fun again. And I love that series. But yeah, TMNT is one of those things that really inspired me as an artist, as a nerd. The earliest memories I have of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is I had a Donatello sweater, and I had a giant stuffed Leonardo, I think. And like the earliest memory of watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was actually on VHS. They released several episodes on VHS, and they had the alien pizza creatures that were oddly reminiscent of the aliens from Aliens, but in more of a pizza form. I remember legit being scared by that as a child. That was probably my earliest memory of the Turtles. But I grew up in a world that was, the Turtles were big, they were important. The NES game, playing that over and over and over and over again. It took me a while before I was good enough to get past the dam level, and then I never really beat the game because even at my peak I didn't get past the dam level, but it would take so much lives or whatever that I could only get through half of the game even after that. So the early Turtles stuff always stuck with me. And then Turtles has this nasty habit of going dormant and then coming back with a new version, and then going dormant and then coming back with a new version. So after the 80s, that show ran forever. The original 8, because I got 5 seasons, I think. The original 80s cartoon that went well into, I think, 94. And then we had the movies kind of died off, because the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is a masterpiece and one of my top 10 films of all time. Absolutely, I go back to that movie. I'll watch that first one more often than any other comic book movie. As much as I love the Marvel cinematic universe, I watch that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie way more often than anything the MCU has produced. It puts me in a right mood. It I look at the set design, I look at everything. It just makes me feel like, okay, this is it. It puts me in a creative mindset. Going back to that first 90s Turtles movie. The second Turtles movie, Secret of Ooze, could be better. Has its moments. The Vanilla Ice scene is actually pretty fun. It has its moments, but it could be better. The third, Turtles movie, I get that they wanted to expand and get more into the fantastical realm of the time travel and some of the crazier alien stuff that the Turtles did. But the third movie should have been City at War. It really should have been the all-out final act of the gangs and that's what the third movie should have been. But not nitpicking. In the early 2000s, we got the reboot of that cartoon. Absolutely loved the 2003 Turtles cartoon. Absolutely adore it. It is one of my favorite series. I started a rewatch not too long ago. That was one of my, it came out when I was in 2003. I graduated high school 2004. That was probably the last Saturday morning cartoon, one of the last Saturday morning cartoons, where I was still getting up and watching cartoons on Saturday. And that Turtles cartoon was a big hit for me. It hit all the right notes. It was adapting some of the cooler comics. It was a little darker, a little edgier. It was absolutely one of my favorite cartoons. And then you move into the 2007 CGI animated movie, which I absolutely love. You get for the first time, you get a Raph versus Leo fight scene. I go back and rewatch that all the time. You get a solid Casey Jones. You get in the final battle, you get one of those rare moments where Splinter cuts loose and shows you why he is the master. And again, it's a newer villain, newer concept. It's showing the wider crazierness of the Turtles. I really wish we had gotten more. But that 2007 film feels like, the fourth live action film that we should have got. And then the 2012 cartoon, I did watch. I'm pretty sure I've watched all of it, but I watched it much later. I wasn't watching it as it was coming out. Love Sean Astin as Leonardo. The 2012 cartoon, we got some Yosaki Ojimbo stuff in there. We got, much more of the space stuff. It was also more of a throwback to the 80s stuff with the ooze and all the, Sewerman and some of those like more mutated monstery creations that I know a lot of people love and have strong affinity for from the original series. But that wasn't my experience. Like, I much preferred the ninjas and the robots and the mutated. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, thank you for your time. Galahad the Fallen is a new webcomic available exclusively on webtoons.com. Galahad the Fallen follows the adventures of Sir Galahad after the fall of Camelot. In the ashes of Camelot, Galahad decides to take up the last and final quest any knight can do: get vengeance for his king. He is going to hunt down the man responsible for the fall of Camelot, Sir Lancelot, not only a noble knight himself, but also Galahad's father. Join us on webtoon.com as the exciting adventure of Galahad the Fallen unfolds exclusively in this new webcomic. Stuff that wasn't my jam per se, but the 80s turtles were definitely my turtles, and then the 2003 turtles I absolutely loved. I watched that series any time of the, I think they re-released it on DVD. It's a series I need to get the box set of. I know the last couple of seasons they redesigned them and changed them up a little bit, and I think flash forward, they put them in the future, which was stupid. But then they brought them back for Back to the Sewer, and then you get the 25th anniversary movie Turtles Forever, which I think is one of the best animated films of all time. It was the first time they brought back that 80s Turtles. They crossed them over, which the 2012 computer would do too. They would go back to the 80s universe and do a crossover, which it felt appropriate. It wasn't like.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
My Alexa's mouthing off at me. But it felt appropriate. It felt like, okay, it wasn't like, oh, we've done this once before, we're going to do it again. No, it's like, oh, we're doing it again, but we're doing it in a different way. Rob Paulson getting to play Donatello and Raphael in the same cartoon was great. But yeah, I absolutely loved TMNT, that version of TMNT, those early Saturday morning, because the 2004 cartoon would start you off in the middle of adventure, like Donatello surrounded by 7 hobos, and like, how did I get here? And then we get a flashback, and then meet back up for the third act. And so I thought that was a really well done mechanic, because you could just start off with a crazy scenario and then work backwards. Fighting dinosaurs in a volcano or whatever. It was all brilliant stuff, and those early Turtles cartoons had huge impact on me in my life. I quote the 90s movie all the time. Hard time letting that one go. The what do you call it? That movie, the 90s movies, just feels so real to me. Donatello and Casey Jones making fun of each other, using insults in alphabetical order is just a great gimmick. Donatello, you're claustrophobic, and Casey Jones going, hey, I've never even looked at another dude. That is just classic comedy. Brilliant stuff. I've been a fan of Tmnt my whole life. The early cartoons, the later cartoons. I haven't seen the newest cartoon. I think it was on Paramount, but I don't know if I can stream it or not. I'll have to figure out if it's on a streamer I have. But from what I've seen, I've enjoyed the animation. I wasn't too thrilled with the later, the last movie that came out, but that's just me. Yeah, but Turtles is such a huge part of my life, and I have been the first thing I learned how to draw was Leonardo's head. I watched a tutorial on how to draw Mickey Mouse, and I thought, if you lose the ears and add a bandana, I'm like, this shape can, so I reversed engineered how to draw a Ninja Turtle from a tutorial on how to draw Mickey Mouse years and years and years ago, because as much as I enjoy Mickey Mouse, I'd much rather draw a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. These characters are just deep within me, and their stories are something that I think about quite often. The last big hunk of Turtles I was reading was the reprints of the Image Turtles, which I get that they were trying to shake up that block and try to be shocking, but sometimes when you don't need to fix it, you don't need to fix it. Like, the Turtles just work. They work in a very simplistic yet insane world. I do believe being a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan has made me a better person. Growing up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and TMNT, the idea of, especially somebody dealing with anger issues, like, Raphael having to learn, like, hey, you're gonna knock this off or it's gonna get you killed. That is a very powerful lesson that I had to learn as a kid. I didn't have a father who was going to teach me that, but I had a Saturday morning cartoon that drilled home that lesson. These cartoons mean a lot to me, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will always have a place on Saturday morning, whether it is the earlier stuff or the later stuff. My goal is to one day own one of the arcade cabinets. I know there's a company, One Up Arcade, that released a very good version of the Turtles cabinet. I unfortunately didn't have the money at the time, but my holy grail of nerdom is to own a Turtles cabinet, because as a young kid I remember running out of quarters playing the arcade game and thinking, one day I'm just going to own the cabinet so I can just play the game. Yes, I can just play the game now because I have an emulator hooked up to my TV. But it's not the same as having an actual arcade cabinet. So, with that said, yeah, I've just always been a Tmnt kid. This is part of the world and fabric that I grew up in. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a huge part of my life. Always will be. I've drawn and painted the Turtles several different ways over the years. One of my earliest paintings that I did with acrylic was Raphael in the sewers and the shadows. It's still hangs on my wall because I think it's a cool image, but it is a little narcissistic to have your own art on your wall. You want to have other people's stuff that influences you, that promotes you, that makes you think, oh yeah, and then this, or gives you ideas. In my office I have a lot of different art pieces and different things from different art studios and different things throughout the years that I've collected. Dave Sims Cerebus, original sketch of Hades from Hercules, the Disney movie. Some Doctor Who fan art, like all that stuff just goes in the blender as an artist, and you think, oh yeah, I can, I'm gonna now put it through your own filter. So, but Turtles has been one of those things that just constantly been there. One of the first things I've ever drawn, and probably will be one of the last things I ever draw. Just because of how often I go back to painting or illustrating the Turtles, is how much I love this franchise, this series. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, I think, created something that A, will last the test of time, and B, is something that has hugely impacted pop culture, whether it be the toys or the video games or the countless knockoff cartoons, Biker Mice from Mars, the cattle rustling something from space cowboys, or whatever that one was. Radioactive hamsters, like the myriad of turtle parodies is mind-blowing, just going down that rabbit hole. So yeah, it's Turtles will always be there, and for me they always have been there. And I'm proud to be a on my workout list in my phone is Turtle Power from the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. TYRUTU power, TURTLE power, TURTLE power. That's one of the things that gets me pumped and jammed. Is Turtles has been and always will be a huge influence on me. And as a cartoonist, I think, okay, Turtles by issue 5 is in outer space. There's no reason why I shouldn't be pushing my storylines. I shouldn't be, blowing things up. I shouldn't be just, expanding the world as big as possible, because that's what Turtles did. With that said, I hope you enjoy these videos. Saturday Morning Cartooning is brought to you by listeners like yourself. If you like what you've seen here today, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you really enjoyed what we're doing here, you can join us over on Patreon, where you get these videos sooner, or you can actually buy one of my books, buy Flatfoot McGee, the Duck Detective, or my series of Halloween horror books, Terrifyingly Gruesome Tales of Horror. They're all available from my website or on Amazon, link down below in the comments. So thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed Saturday Morning Cartooning. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. TMNT is near and dear to my heart. What was, if you were a toy collector in the 80s, what was your favorite, or just a kid in the 80s, what was your favorite Turtles toy? Mine was the ones that could turn into little turtles. I had that for years, until the plastic holding it together literally disintegrated and it fell apart. But yeah, what was your favorite Turtles toy?